Welcome along to Betting Weekly Live. You are with Dan Roebuck, not Steve Wiss. Steve, unfortunately, can't be with us today. I'll explain why in just a second. Alongside me, Lewis Jones, who was always booked for today. So great to have Lewis with us over the course of the next half an hour or so. We're going to be talking primarily soccer because we've got games tonight, of course, in the Premier League with Wolves taking on Nottingham Forest. And there's also championship action, Queen's Park Rangers against Luton. We've got action in Spain. And out in Saudi, we've got the Super Coppa final between the two Milan sides to take a look at. And given the fact that the regular season is just over when it comes to the NFL, we've got wildcard weekend coming up this weekend. Our friends from BetRivers have given us the splits when it comes to the futures for the NFL and the Super Bowl. Some interesting reading. We'll cover that towards the end of the show. But first of all, sorry it's not Steve, Lewis. But Lewis, how are you?
Yes, very good. Thanks, Dan. A bit of a shock to see your face pop up as we started this one. I heard Steve's got some issues with the weather.
He's got internet. He's good. Look. He lives in the frozen north. You know, he's only had phone lines and television for the last year or so. so the internet is very newfangled for him. And unfortunately, where he is has suddenly cut the internet line. So he can't come on air, unfortunately. So that's the way it is. So for those of you, I'm just across the comments here, expecting Steve to give one or two thoughts on the European action, you'll have to make do with me. I texted Steve and said, Steve, what were your plans for Real Madrid and the Super Cup? He's not got back to me. So
I was going to say, he's got no signal. He can't.
He's got no anything. He's got absolutely nothing. Rick says morning, or Rick says, Steve, I thought the apology you posted on Instagram was a good one, but it went sideways. Ming says hello to all. Duncan says afternoon or loving the Human League intro. It's down as Depeche Mode 2, Duncan. Subhuman Goucher says morning fellows. Felix afternoon. Chris Graham says Steve's got a new look. Yeah, he's aged about 20 years. Kieran Lambu says hello from Nepal, and David says hello fam. Look, Lewis, we believe there's a little bit of breaking Premier League news as well here. You suggested to me just before we came on air that Julian Lopetegui had been sacked by West Ham. Did a quick search, and apparently he has. I mean, to sack someone after a hammering at the hands of Manchester City, I mean, I don't really get it. Do you get it? Do you think he should have gone earlier? Do you think he should have stayed? What's your sort of very quick take on that one? Because it's literally just broken.
Yeah, I do get it, to be honest. It's very much, nothing really much had changed with the change of manager from the style of football. And I think that was like a key thing over the summer that West Ham were trying to do, is they're trying to make the team a little bit more maybe progressive and easier to watch on the eye, so to speak. But the Lopetegui style of football is very much like David Moyes, just without maybe the sort of swashbuckling counter-attack style that Moyes did show at West Ham, with obviously that European success where they had some great nights at the London Stadium, and obviously culminated in that win over Fiorentina. So I do think it quickly dawned on most people following the Premier League and West Ham that probably Lopetegui's appointment was a bit of a mistake, and probably one of the biggest mistakes of the summer made by any sort of board member, I'd say, making these decisions at these football clubs. So I think fair play to West Ham if they have made the decision to change it, because I think it needed to. It's nothing really changed stylistically from the Moyes era, and with the West Ham aren't going to get relegated. They're probably not going to push for European football. So you, as a season ticket holder of West Ham, people that go and watch the club, you need to make them a little bit more progressive and better to watch, and the results should fall into play alongside that as well. So I think just getting a manager in who plays a bit more expansive style of football probably is what the club need at this moment, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, the markets might be up in the next hour or two as to who might replace him. It's interesting that one or two of our commenters here, Ming says this must mean that they have a replacement. I mean, Graham Potter's been linked with an awful lot of jobs, hasn't he? I mean, he is a different style of play, but I don't know whether he's the right character for West Ham. I mean, would he be a good fit? I don't know.
What I will say about this recruitment process is that the fact David Sullivan doesn't like really putting his hand in his pocket in terms to pay managers off. He absolutely despises it. So he's had to do that with Lopetegui here. So there's absolutely no chance he's going to go and get another manager in work at the moment. He's going to get someone that's
good spot.
That's
at work at the minute.
Yeah, at work at the minute. So the likes of Graham Potter obviously spring to mind straight away. And I did see something about Steve Cooper actually being linked, and that just strikes me as a very sort of a cheap option from David Sullivan there if they're going to get Cooper in. Again, I'm not, after seeing his team, how they played at Leicester towards the start of the season, I'm not sure that really improved the style of football. So Potter does look the obvious one, but yeah, off the top, that's just off the top of my head. But if you are going to be having a sort of bet in these West Ham next manager, Mike, has to be one that's out of a job at the moment, because as I say, Sullivan, he doesn't like putting his money in. It doesn't like putting his hand in his pocket to pay off these managers who probably think they're all overpaid anyway, aren't they? So to get someone on the freebie, I think that's the way forward for West Ham at this.
Yeah, I think that's so true. The real what's this? The real Brandon King. Hi from Toronto. Big fan of Lewis's articles from Sky Sports. You can see Lewis's copy on Sky, as well as one or two other websites as well. We're pleased to have him on the show this season. Paul says, good morning, Paul. How are you? Nice to hear from you. What else we got? Player Camp says, good evening, guys. And how am I? I'm fine, even though I've been press ganged into action today. The Ice of Dave, good morning here in Indiana. Felix Pete says, you'd like to think that they have replacement given they play Villa on Friday. That's a cup game. Lewis might have a bit of an angle in one of the other cup games this midweek as well. Incidentally, Florence Nightingale says, I'm sorry, I tuned in late. Is Steve not well? Has he caught a cold? Internet issues, Florence. If you had caught a cold, obviously, Florence, you would be the person to help him. Mila says, good evening from Iran. Chris says, morning, gents. Could Wolves get something today? We're going to talk about that one in just a second. Marco says both teams to score yes in that particular game. Just before we get into tonight's action, we are going to take a look at the Premier League outrights, which look like this at the moment. Liverpool are minus 500. They're still short price favourite here, Lewis, even though they only drew with United yesterday. Arsenal are plus 450. They've come in a little bit. They went out to around about 6-7 to 1, I think, after the Brighton draw. Thought Brighton played pretty well in that. City are into 25s. Chelsea are 50 to 1. Just your quick thoughts on the top, because I know you've got a little bit of an angle at the bottom, but when it comes to the top, does that look about right to you?
Yeah.
You thought, fair enough.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I think Arsenal missing that opportunity, I think, on Saturday against Brighton. They played quite well the first half, didn't they? And Brighton switched it up, made a good couple of changes, didn't they, Hurtsler, and he sort of changed the game. And Arsenal, they're at times this season just frustrated me. I'm on them to win everything this season, including the quad, actually. I did think that, having foreseen this Man City drop-off, I did think there was a team that could just go and win a lot from the Premier League this year, and I picked the wrong team, I think, unfortunately. But still time to go, and they've been here, they've sort of been here before, haven't they, in these pressurised environments. So they're not going to, I think they know how to win games when the run-in comes, even though they got nabbed by Man City. So there's a little bit of hope for me still that they can still find something and put a run together. But they are testing my patience. They've sort of tested my patience for most of the season now, because they keep having these opportunities and they do just keep banging their head on something or not walking through the door. So, yeah, I think the prices are right there, Dan. But I'm hoping Arsenal can just sort of turn the corner, and maybe Liverpool's these contract situations with Trent and Salah and Van Dijk start to affect their performances on the pitch. Saw that yesterday slightly with Trent.
Absolutely.
I mean, his head looked elsewhere yesterday, I wouldn't have been too happy if I was a Liverpool fan with that going on in the background, and he put in that sort of lethargic, sulky performance, I thought. So it's interesting sort of sideshow to what's going on the pitch is the Trent stuff. So Liverpool just need to probably get through January and sort this out really about what he's going to do, where he's going to go, or even just, you know what, just say, look, you're not on it at the moment. Let's bring in Bradley, the other right back, and just calm the noise down a bit, because he's a very good player as well. So they've got someone in reserve. But yeah, that's my only. I think the off the field stuff with the contracts is probably Arsenal backers' only hope really for Liverpool throwing this away at the moment.
Paul says Newcastle plus 160, top 4. It's a possibility, I guess. I mean, they're the formed side at the moment, I guess, aren't they, Newcastle? I mean, just going back to those prices for a second, price of Forest to plus 450, that'd be some story if they qualified for the Champions League. But look, with one or two others faltering and Newcastle sort of, playing well, getting results. What is it, 6 on the spin now or something like that in all comps? I mean, they're involved in the League Cup action tomorrow night, and they have played a strong side, haven't they, in the League Cup? So we might catch up with them at some side. Could you give a shout out to Newcastle top 4? Do you think price is about right, or even too short at the minute?
No, 100%. I think I could definitely see weakness still. Obviously, in Man City, I know they've got a couple of results, but still out of position. I think they're probably still the worst team in the league. I think easily to play. It's so easy to break against still. And West Ham had lots of opportunities. So Man City are far from back unless they go really, really go bonkers in January, which I can't really see happening in that month. So Chelsea as well. There's definitely vulnerabilities there. Whether they can ride this sort of storm they're going through at the moment, probably. So I do think, I can see that Newcastle angle. The price has probably gone a little bit now. If you'd have got on
I think so.
A couple of weeks ago, I think maybe you'd been in a nice spot. They haven't got any European football to worry about, have they, towards the back end of the season, unlike Man City. And I know Chelsea play a second team in the Conference League, but that's still going to affect them when they get into the latter stage, I think. Yes, I'd probably I'd be looking at teams that haven't got that European football angle to negotiate as well towards the end of the season. So yeah, definitely if you're on Newcastle at a price, I think you've got a good shot.
Bottom of the table, Saints are looking at Derby's worst ever record, aren't they? We're not even quoting them here. Yes, we are quoting them, as you can see. I mean, that they are surely going to go down. They only got 6 points. I mean, that average puts that Derby 11 points under a bit of pressure, doesn't it? Leicester are big odds on as well, -400, big minus money. Ipswich -155, unlucky against Fulham. And incidentally, a shout out to one of our Bet Rivers customers who had $36,000 on Fulham plus a half in play against Ipswich, that late leveler at around about -200, just a little bit bigger than that. So that was a nice sort of $17,000 win for that particular player. Well done, but crikey, you were sweating on that one. We got, after that, Everton and Wolves have got 17 and 16 points. They're on 16th and 17th position at the moment. Everton +275. Wolves, who play tonight, +225. You said to me ahead of coming on air that you just wanted to chat about Everton a little bit here, Lewis. So what are your thoughts here? Are we backing them to go down or just betting against them in upcoming games? Or how are we sort of looking at Everton from a betting angle?
I think all those things are in play at the moment. I think the relegation price is sort of crashing every week because they're absolutely just stinking the place out, aren't they? I mean, and to be honest, I'm bored and sick of watching this Sean Dyche Everton team now. I have to cover them quite a lot, actually. And I do a few of their games and just completely bored with watching their style of football, actually. And I just feel so sorry for people that have to actually pay to go and watch Everton and play these days, because it is just like a form of torture, I think, watching this Everton team at the moment. And that the fact they didn't score again against Bournemouth means they've now failed to score in 8 of their last 10 Premier League matches, which is just horrendous. I'm trying to rack my brains to think of a more boring team in Premier League history, and I've really struggled for. I know you've had teams that sort of, you mentioned the Derby team back in the day, but unless they sort of conceded a few goals and made it interesting at the other end, Everton don't concede goals either. So you've just got, it's becoming just a bit of a farce, really, now. I think this story under Dyche at Everton now. They've scored just 31 goals in their last 37 matches, and that's since the start of this last calendar year, 2024. So just as soon as Brooks scored for Bournemouth, it was game over, really, wasn't it? They didn't look like they were capable of putting anything together. Confidence is absolutely on the floor. And you say they're short now, aren't they? They're getting shorter every week for the relegation. Plus 275. That could be an unthinkable situation for them, couldn't it? If they
going into a new stadium as well,
shiny new stadium, and then they have to kick it off against, I don't know, someone like, I'm going to throw a team here for the Championship, someone like Coventry at home or something like that. It's not exactly the opening game you want, really, to start the season. And just in their current state, I find it hard to fancy them to win any football match at the moment. And they're playing Peterborough of League One in the FA Cup on Thursday. So I just think this game, it's at Goodison Park on a Thursday night, which is a very strange night to have an FA Cup tie. I know they
complained about it, didn't they? I think Everton fans and Peterborough fans didn't want it on a Thursday, but it is what it is. And
I think that's going to affect the atmosphere as well. I think if this is a game, if you had a game to miss, if you're an Everton fan, you've got something else to do. This because of the sort of filth they've been serving up recently. I do think this is the one to miss, and the atmosphere is going to be non-existent in the Goodison Park. And I think Peterborough have got a really good shot for a giant killing here on Thursday, because Sean Dyche as well, he's got a really bad record in the FA Cup, actually. He's not really known for being able to sort of successfully rotate players, I think. And the results normally take an effect on that, because he just relies so much on sort of cohesion at the back and chemistry and making sure they don't concede goals. But if you chop and change the back four, and the goalkeeper, who is probably one of the best goalkeepers in the league. I don't think Pickford's going to play. So I really think Peterborough have got a good chance here. Because Dyche has only gone past the fourth round twice in the last 12 seasons. And he's been managing Premier League clubs during that time as well. And he's sort of surprising exits he's had to deal with against Huddersfield, Norwich, Barnsley, and non-league Lincoln beat Burnley in 2017. Sorry, and that was just the second time a non-league team has ever beaten a Premier League team in the competition. So there's definite negativities around a Dyche team in the FA Cup, even at this stage. And I just think it looks a really, really good opportunity for Peterborough, who will treat this game really seriously, going to Goodison Park and trying to sort of test themselves against a Premier League outfit and potentially winning as well. So they score goals, Peterborough, as well. 1.77 goals per game they've had, which is the third highest of any team in League One since the start of last year. So, and call me old-fashioned, but don't you need to score goals to win football matches? So
usually,
I do think that this plus 155 on the +1 Asian handicap for Peterborough is going to get backed, I think, over the next few days. I can see that shortening for kickoff just when people realise that Everton don't score goals and they're going to make lots of changes and Dyche's record in this competition. So that means we'll get a full payout at that price if they avoid defeat and get stakes refunded if Peterborough lose by 1. And I think that's a great little investment to have there, just because even if Everton are going to win the game, I can't see them winning it by a margin. I mean, they haven't got the players or the confidence to go and sort of rack up a goal haul, even against League One Peterborough at the moment. So I just think that +155 on Peterborough on the Asian handicap +1 goal, definitely have a look at that on Thursday, because I think the Peterborough angle is going to be well backed, I think, by the shrewd money which comes in eventually, I think.
If you want to go a bit safer, +1.5, which means you get the 1 goal defeat. Is -114, not the worst. And just saw one
still
of our
backable,
commenters.
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I can't remember who said it. Was it Ming who says Everton the type of team who pull out a 1-0 win when they need it? Well, if you back +1.5 Peterborough, you've still got your money, haven't you? Duncan says about time Everton went down. A lot of really good comments that I'll try and catch up with shortly. Junipi says, honestly, Forest +450 top 4 looks good. I don't see any weaknesses in their team, and they're very hard to beat. We're going to talk about Forest in just a second. Maninta Pereira says reports of Steve Wish being seen at Meslier's residence launching snowballs. The Leeds keepers had a few nightmares recently.
Throw it on the pile, eh? Throw it on the pile.
Simon says Steve's a Leeds fan, keeping a low profile in Harrogate until Saturday. Yeah, that could be two. Those two meet, of course, in the FA Cup. As well. Albert says, good afternoon. First time on the channel live show. Enjoyed it very much. I'm good with numbers. I know Albert, obviously, with a name like that. What else we got? Felix talking about defensively, we're fine. He's talking about Everton. Garner McNeil, big names missing. Well, McNeil creativity. He's not played recently, has he? That's a little bit of a minus. Certainly, Lee Robinson says Everton will stay up. Doesn't matter what they do. Others are worse than them. They never go down. They won't go down. And the
Man City always win the league, though, Dan, don't they? Man City always win the league and come back strong at this. So these things change. These trends are there to be broken.
Look, you keep knocking on that door of relegation. That it's going to, the trapdoor's going to fall at one stage. Or it's just what happens, isn't it? That's what form's all about. Anyway, that's Everton done and dusted with. Let's talk tonight's football, because there's plenty of you watching live. So we're going to get Lewis's thoughts on this game tonight. Wolves against Nottingham Forest here. We talked about both of these two teams already, sort of, in terms of top 4 for Forest and relegation for Wolves. Wolves have had a bit of an upswing as well with a new manager, +250. Forest are +120. They are favourites away from home, and how. +220, the tie, as you can see. We got the total goals market. Both teams to score. Yes, we had one of our commenters suggesting that's a play at 132, but I don't know. When I saw Forest away at Everton, or at least the highlights, they played a little bit different. They allowed Everton to come onto them, Lewis, and they sort of played counter-attacking. Everton didn't know what to do and had an awful lot of the ball, couldn't break them down. And maybe it could be the same for Wolves tonight. No Cunha as well is a big miss for them. What are your thoughts betting-wise on Wolves against Forest tonight, Lewis?
Yeah, that's the way they're going to play. Is they've done it all season. It's a really sort of unique style of football, actually, that Nuno's bringing to the table here. They really they're happy to relinquish possession and sort of defend the deepest of any team in the league, to soak it up and defend very narrowly. So it sort of forces teams to take shots from places that aren't high probability, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so they're XG per shot.
Yeah.
XG per shot is one of the best in the league in terms of defence. So Yeah, I managed to get a bit of the minus 125 on Forest draw no bet here last week. I don't want to blow trumpets. No one's going to care about that now. But that's moved now to minus 182. So I'm in quite a good spot tonight heading into here with this draw no bet Forest. Because I'd be surprised if Wolves can win this game, really, despite having the home advantage as well. And I do think the market now is probably just about right on Forest. So it's hard for me to advise people to sort of jump on now, but just Forest is such a hard team to beat. I think that's the key thing to factor in here. And it's just all about that defensive structure. Milenkovic and Murillo, I mean, them two this season have been absolutely outstanding. The chemistry they've got together, they're completely in sync with Nuno's style of football, which is very much heavily reliant on defending the central parts of your box. And those two, they do it absolutely brilliant. Milenkovic reminds me of like Nemanja Vidic back in the day for Manchester United. He's that sort of style of defender who just absolutely relishes balls coming in the box and he'll win the first contact. So, I really like this Forest team. I like betting on them at the moment. So I'm very keen on getting them on side tonight. And especially you mentioned that there, no Cunha for Wolves. I just think that's a massive, massive miss for them. I can't see how they're going to unlock this Forest defence without him in it. He scored or assisted 14, so he's got 14 goal involvements this season, which is 45% of their total goal output. And I just think he's still underrated as a player. I know there's been clubs sort of sniffing around. I know Arsenal have been linked and teams of that sort of ilk, and he'd fit absolutely right into that Arsenal front line at the moment if anything came of that. And that's if he would bring so much creativity and nous and vision. He's got pace about him and he can mix it too. And that's what I quite like about him. He sort of plays like he cares as well. Cunha, and I just think he makes Wolves tick. And there was a little snippet of how Wolves were going to fare actually in the second half against Tottenham without Cunha. He went off injured in the second half. Yeah. I was covering the game at the Tottenham Stadium, so I was quite interested to see how they played without him. And yeah, they managed to sort of grind out a 2-2, but before they got the equaliser, they really looked rather limp, I thought, and unimaginative against a Tottenham team defensively who were actually there for the taking and quite one-dimensional, I thought, Wolves without Cunha still. So I could definitely see them having problems trying to break down this sort of like incredible defensive unit that Nuno has built. So, yeah, Forest win to nil might be the angle at plus 240, I thought. That might just be the sort of smart way of boosting that outright Forest price to something sort of a little bit more backable. Because I just think if Forest are going to win the game, it's a good chance they're going to do it to nil. They've won 8 of their 11 wins, this season have come without conceding. So certainly a sort of a profitable strategy to be following. It's something I like doing, actually. When the team's got a really good defence and a great defensive output, I do just like backing them sort of to win to nil over a long period to see if I can sort of lock in a profit. I did that with Arsenal last season quite successfully, and Burnley are starting to deliver for that for me as well in the Championship this season, because their defence is absolutely outrageous what they're doing. So I do think there are shades of that with this Forest team in terms of the defensive output. So I do think probably Forest to win to nil is the bet now at the prices at plus 240. But personally, I'm in quite a good spot with the draw no bet from back in it late last week. So I would encourage punters to really put faith in Forest here. I think Wolves without Cunha, I think they're going to struggle to create too many big chances.
Yeah, I think you did. And what I found, and I'm sure a lot of bettors are the same here, and not just bettors, just people who watch football. If you look at the stats for these two sides in terms of profitability, overs, both teams to score, yes, and so on. Wolves, profitable plays. Forest, it's all both teams to score, no, and unders. Yeah. And what usually happens is it's the side that is the more defensive and the more negative. They bring the other side down. So you can, on the best stats, you can make a case for either overs or unders. But I always think it's the negative side that will bring them to their level, if you like. I'm looking both teams to score. No, I'm looking sort of Forest to nil, that sort of thing. I always think that, because a lot of bettors have got a positive mindset, they always think that the overs is going to come in situations like this. But Lewis, we both
just
know
on Everton
again.
Away. I'm going to bring Everton into the mix here again. They're a perfect example of that, how they can drag a game
absolutely
down to the unders.
All the time.
They could be playing the Brazil team of 1970 or whatever, and it'd still go under. So, so I could definitely see your point with that. I like the fact how a good defensive output outweighs an attacking output when you're looking at the over underline. I think so.
especially at the sort of this sort of level. We aren't talking Brazil 1970s, but it'd be amazing how you price that one up. What have we got on this one? We've got Everton going to focus on the league. That's true. Talking about that cup situation, that's Disky who's been on. Kushel says that there are 3 worse teams than Everton in the Premier League, probably. Fiddick says, like Morgan Gibbs White, Price scoring against his former club angle. Gurney says, Tony Pulis.
Throwing a card as well if you're going to go there. Definitely
possibly.
The card. If he's going to score, add the card angle in. He's been booked in his last 2 games against Wolves as well. And if he scores, the shirt's coming off. He could go absolutely potty. So add the same game parlay, Gibbs White to score and the card as well. I think that's a good way of boosting it.
Boost it up, definitely. Gurney says, Pulis was surrendering possession in the Premier League when Nuno was in short pants. You're probably right there. Minera says, Forest in such good form, they can win easy. Forest to win to 0, clean sheets the last 3. Duncan says Wolves beat United in their last home game. They're no mugs. Tricky one. Bet with caution, says Duncan. Kushel says red card in 4 minutes and all talk will be trash. Well, possibly. We'll see. And Lewis says, how much would you recommend Chris Wood to score at any time? Have we missed the Chris Wood train, do we think, at prices? Or for them wanting a little bit of interest? Oh, let's get the right prices up. Would you say plus 180 is still about fair?
I think that's probably about fair. I'm actually having a bet on a different player tonight. I found a really good price with Bet Rivers actually here on Anthony Elanga to score or assist. I'm not sure we've got it on the screen there, but
we've not got it on the screen. But go on.
To score or assist is plus 200, which I thought. So in other words, just to get a goal involvement, I thought that's a really big price. If Craig Dawson, the Wolves centre back, plays on the left hand side of the back 3 again, like he did against Tottenham. He does not look comfortable playing in that position where he has to be quite mobile. He's had a very good career, Dawson, but he has to play deep. He'd be very good playing for Forest in their sort of low defensive block where he just has to clear things out of his box. But in this system, he's having to play on that left-hand side, and he was really, really exposed by Brennan Johnson and Kulusevski last weekend, especially for, I think it was Brennan Johnson's goal, actually, where Dawson was just left in a 2-on-1 with those two, and it was just game over. And I got a feeling if they can get Elanga into those spaces, Nottingham Forest tonight, up against Dawson, then he is going to have a big effect on this game and actually make something big. Yeah, make a big chance happen or score himself. I think he could have Dawson on toast in one-on-one situations there, and he's a player with confidence at the moment. When he's bad, he's quite bad, but when he's hot, he's hot. And I like players like that who, when they're in form and they're sort of got something, a bit of bravado about them. And he scored or assisted, so this bet would have landed in his last 4 appearances now. Just think he's going to be brimming with confidence. And that plus 200 Elanga, score or assist. If Dawson plays on that left-hand side of the Wolves back 3, I think this is where Forest could really get in, I think, tonight.
Brilliant stuff. Lovely analysis. Watch out for the teams when they come out. And when Sky Sports or wherever you're watching, and BC, I don't know who's got the rights in the States, when they put up that graphic, if it's Elanga Dawson, that is potentially a play. Janabi says Elanga playing really well at the moment. Winston Churchill says, good afternoon, mates. I prefer both road teams in England tonight. We're going to get to QPR Luton shortly. Just to let everyone know, Wolves Forest, money line with our friends at Bet Rivers, 98% of the money, 91% of the tickets on Forest. Over and under, 77% of the money, 79% of the tickets on over. Everyone still likes overs. I'm going unders tonight. We've had a $1,400 play on Forest on the money line at plus 123. And once again, 4-figure play on under 2.5 goals. You see a lot of tickets on the overs, but the sizable bets are coming for the unders at a shade minus money. That's the Premier League action tonight. We'll give Lewis a break for a couple of minutes. Now, Steve was meant to be with us tonight. And Steve, I've texted him, but because he lives in the middle of nowhere up in the frozen north, I said, you wanted these games, Deportiva, Minera and Real Madrid and Inter against Milan on the show. Can you give me your selections? And he's not texted me back because obviously he's not got any sort of signal. So you'll have to make do with me just rattling off some numbers for you here. First of all, in this Real Madrid game, I mean, they played on Friday. They play again in the Spanish Super Cup later this week. This will be a very, very different team to the one that they usually play. Deportiva Minera are a 4th tier side in Spain. They haven't won any of their last 5, is it? Where's my notes here? They haven't won any of the last 5 in 90 minutes. So I can't really see them give Real Madrid any sort of issues. Obviously, Carlo Ancelotti is going to rotate an awful lot, and it might give 1 or 2 younger strikers an opportunity to play. The likes of Vendrick, Anguilla, a couple of teenagers. They're short in the anytime goal scorer market. Hendrick's around about minus 200. Guller is minus 125, which is a little bit better. Brahim Diaz, who's played a little bit more for the first team, could get a run out as well. He's minus 125. So look at maybe those two. I can't see any significant shocks there for Real Madrid. And as far as the Super Copa is concerned here, we previewed the semi-final last week. Or one of them, I did, and it was Inter against Atalanta. We suggested Inter on the money line. They came good. We wanted overs. They had so many chances. They had an XG of around about 3, and Atalanta weighed in with an XG of 1, but it was 2-0 to Inter. Atalanta had a goal ruled out, and no Marcus Thuram for Inter, but I still think they'll be good enough. Mehdi Taremi, I say no. He's a doubt with a thigh injury, but given the fact that obviously they'll be back in Serie A action pretty soon, I suspect that they would not risk him. Mehdi Taremi could well play. He's plus 265 to score if he does start. Inter do like this competition. They won it in Saudi, in Riyadh, same stadium last year. They're looking for their 4th straight Super Copa win. Sergio Conceição is now in charge of Milan. He's not taken charge of a Serie A game just yet. Paolo Fonseca was sacked just before Christmas, so he could win a trophy in his first couple of weeks in charge. They came from behind to beat Juve in the other semi-final, a penalty and an own goal. They weren't convincing. Inter were beaten by Milan earlier this season in Serie A, but I fancy Inter to come good. They've won their last 6. And I think they'll gain revenge today. They're minus 127. And we've seen a little bit of money for Inter as well. $1,000 play on Inter on the money line. Most of the money, 92% of the money, 87% of the tickets on Inter. And overs has also been popular as well. Over 2.5 goals, as you can see, is minus 103. So that's the international football or the European football, Spain and Italy. Dave Clark says he likes Inter. And Dave also says Bayern Munich playing a friendly against Salzburg, starting their entire, at 9, their entire starting lineup seems like they're going to smash Salzburg. I don't play friendlies, but that's interesting. Good information, Dave. Don't mind that at all. Don't mind that at all. And Dumfries to score, says Bastian Costa. He did score a couple, of course, in that semi-final win. The Dutch defender likes to get forward, doesn't he? Now, the other game that we've got listed on our graphic there is QPR against Luton. Just before we get into that, Dave was talking about which player we were talking about. Anthony Elanga, Dave. So just watch out for the team news. Elanga is the player we're talking about, Forest winger, ex-Man United. If he plays up against Dawson, we think he might be able to score an assist at plus 200. So watch out for that one, Dave. Right, let's get Lewis's thoughts on QPR against Luton here. QPR, Lewis, are plus 135. Luton are having a shocker at the minute, plus 180. I've got to tell you, I've backed them to go down at 33s.
Wow.
Because I just thought that they'd have a bit of a drop-off from the Premier League. They lost 1 or 2 players as well. And let's face it, in my opinion, they were a little bit lucky to go into the Premier League anyway. They've had a drop-off. I don't really expect them to go down. I just thought that they were a little bit of value. So I'm hoping they get smashed by Nigel Seeley's side tonight. What do you think? QPR Luton, any angles for us?
Well, it's a really bizarre 1x2 market, this, because I was surprised to see Luton actually so short. They've lost 9. The last 9 away games they've lost, conceding 25 goals.
And QPR have been good at home, haven't they? It's a strange one, isn't it?
It's a really strange one. QPR won their last 4 at home. It's the first time they've done that since 2017. And it's really good shout that from you. Was this a bet you placed pre-season, Dan?
Not pre-season. Oh, do you know what? I fancied it pre-season. I fancied it pre-season. And a friend of mine's a Luton season ticket holder. And he says, no, we'll be all right. And he completely put me off. And then I saw him about a month later. And he said, actually, we're in trouble here. And that was about September. And I didn't have the bet until October.
They're 33 cents, were they? Wow.
Yeah, and their price stayed around about that sort of price for a while. And they had some very, very fortunate wins recently. They came from behind to beat Derby, like 2 goals in the last 2 minutes. And they beat, was it Swansea in the last minute as well? But they've been poor. I mean, they've still got some good players. I sort of expect them to get out of it, but I'm quite happy sitting on the ticket. I've got it in a few. I've got it in
one
a
of those
few
classic value losers, I think, maybe.
Oh yeah, one of those. Can't eat value. Can't eat value and all that sort of nonsense.
Value can't keep you warm at night.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll see.
I think you might be the first person that sort of saw this Luton drop off coming. I think because they was really fancied to challenge.
Yeah.
At the start of the season, wouldn't they? I mean, because these parachute payments these teams get, and the sort of the difference in class between the top of the championship and the middle of the championship and the bottom is stark, I think. And Luton should have really come down and been able to to blow away quite a few of these teams with the talent in their squad still. I know Doughty's injured at the moment. He's a really, really good player. The front two, Morris and Adebayo, caused loads of problems in the Premier League.
Morris has been scoring a few goals, to be fair, recently, hasn't he?
Really surprised to see them drop off this bad. They've lost 14 games this season, which is more than any team in the division. And they're just 2 points above the drop zone now. So I see why you're getting quite excited about your prospects with that 33. So that's a great bet at the moment. This is just a really strange market, I think, because just QPR sort of turned a corner and they got a very good manager in Marty Cifuentes. And even when they were on a run of sort of 1 win in 12, I think the fans sort of stuck with him, and the club know they've got sort of a smart and probably quite a progressive manager on their hands, and they've sort of reaped the rewards for just allowing him some time to sort it out and finding a way forward with the way that the team are playing. And they're on a good run now. And I'd have expected sort of QPR here to be really strong favourites for the game, but it's anything but, isn't it? Say Luton is it 1 plus 180 and QPR plus 135, meaning if it was a neutral venue, Luton would be sort of favourites, I think, to win the game.
Absolutely.
And I just think that doesn't really add up to me, considering what Luton have been doing consistently now for most of the season. I just sort of did some digging into sort of past prices. I went back to analyse the prices of both these teams, to what they've been going off lately, just to see if there's any sort of anything there. Is there a negativity towards either team? And there absolutely is a negativity towards this QPR team at the moment, based on like the prices they're going off. Just for an example, they took 4 points off Norwich in the last few weeks in the 2 games they played, and we're actually only a couple of minutes away from actually beating them and taking 6 from 6. But they went off plus 400 away from home against them and plus 270 in the home match, and that just seems really, really bizarre. Norwich are quite well fancied by the markets, but the markets really don't like this QPR team, even up against this Luton team who haven't won in 9 away from home. So it's a very hard game to weigh up, I think. So it's sort of the classic conundrum of whether to sort of follow the strong form lines, which point to QPR being what I would naturally deem as quite big value in the market if their win price, or do you trust the sort of shrewdness of the money that's coming in to oppose QPR?
That's it.
Even in this spot.
Are you stats, and maybe they're not, or are you the price? Are you the money? It's fascinating thing.
Because obviously the market is suggesting that QPR aren't quite as good as what the results show, and I think their games do game their average very low total XG in all their games, but they're coming out on top at the moment. And I'm just completely all over the show with this bet with this match. To be honest, not sure how whether to follow the form line, follow the money. It's a very, very difficult one. So I think sometimes the best bet is no bet, isn't it? And I think that's what I'll be doing tonight with this one and concentrating on the Forest game. So I've just spoke for 5 minutes there and not having a bet. So I'll get everyone's absolutely delighted with me. But if you are looking to get involved, then and you've got a strong view on either way here, I do think you're getting a good price, I think, for your money here, especially if you want to back QPR, because their form against Luton's form, they should be a lot shorter than what they are in the market at the moment. So fascinating to see how it goes tonight. And if there is any sort of if there's a late move for Luton as well, again, if the money comes in again, if the Shrewdies are taking on this QPR team, I think this run is too good to be true. Then really interesting. So I'd keep an eye on the market just before kickoff and see where it moves. But they're not having QPR the markets at the moment. So whether that's right or wrong, we'll find out.
It's a strange one. Look, Milan said, guys, is QPR draw no bet safe? Well, I mean, I think so, but as Lewis says, the market's strange. I mean, Man United, last 3 games have all been bet. I mean, United got better. Liverpool, they were like 11, 12. They looked like they're going to be the biggest price ever in a football match, I thought. And then they got bet against Liverpool. They got bet against Wolves, and they got bet against, was it Newcastle? And they've not won any of the games, but I don't know if it's syndicate money. I don't know if it's modelling, and people just keep looking at the prices and just look, these are the wrong prices. Historically, this is wrong, and therefore a weight of money comes to it. We do see it. I'm not saying it's right. It just happens, doesn't it? It's
one of the things in this job we do. We have to try and analyse whether to go with those form lines, the strong ones, and oppose the markets. So the markets aren't always right. You can find edges if you're clever enough to sort of pick and choose your battles. But as you say, it's a very, very tricky game, this one, and I'll just be interested to see how it pans out rather than getting involved myself, I think.
Yeah, I'm backing QPR for what it's worth. I'm going to press up. Charlie says QPR missing Cook, captain, and Morrison, their best centre-back. Good info from true. Charlie. Anthony Hopkins says, why not a draw? Duncan says, come on, you super hoops. QPR have to be the bet tonight. Just in terms of what Bet Rivers have taken, we have seen 60% of the money, 90% of the tickets on QPR, Most of the money on the overs and unders has gone for the overs. Naturally, it always does. 87% the money, 80%, 5% tickets on over. And we've had a $1,000 play on QPR minus a quarter on the Asian handicap. So that's a play on QPR. So, I mean, that's a soccer done. I'm just going to rattle through some Super Bowl futures because the regular season's been completed. I've got some interesting betting splits, and then we'll press Lewis for a best bet on this Monday football card. So just to let everyone know, this is how the market is for the Super Bowl. When the regular season in the book, as we know, Detroit Lions are favourites 3-1. Kansas City Chiefs, so I think ranked number one for the first time in their history in their conference, are plus 325. And in terms of where the money's gone for the Super Bowl, I've got one of our guys, Troy, to give us all the splits, or at least where the money's gone. It's fascinating because Lions 19.1% of the money, 16.5% of the tickets here. But that's not the most money. The Chiefs have had both the most money and the most tickets at 25.3% and 22.4%. But there's one or two anomalies further down, which I think are really interesting. The Steelers, for example, who are 80-1 shots, 6% of the money. And that one of the reasons is because Bet Rivers, the Steelers area, very, very popular. There's also been money for the Texans, also been money for the Packers at 20-1 as well. The Eagles as well, nearly 14% of the takeout on the Eagles at 7-1. So you get to know which teams that Bet Rivers want to win and don't want to win the Super Bowl. And just in terms of the big wages that the boys at the Bet Rivers, the traders, will be looking at here, they've had an $11,600 play on the Lions at plus 550. These are all ahead of the regular season, or most of them will be. $7,000 play on the Chiefs at 5-1, $6,000 play on the Eagles at 14-1, on the Bills, $4,500 at fives, and on the Steelers, $3,000 play at 25-1. So some hefty wagers going into wildcard weekend. A little bit later on this week, we'll have news of those, of course. Now then, Shakespeare has been on, always comes on late, and says, bet all the favourites against the spread in the first round of the NFL playoffs, and I'm confident that you will come out ahead after the first round is completed. I like that, Lewis. It's the sort of bet we'd look for. It's a little bit counterintuitive, isn't it? You basically just bet against the favs.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very I like that. When Shakespeare speaks, you got to listen as well.
Absolutely, yeah. He's penned enough plays, we know. So there we go. That's from Shakespeare. I'm sure Shakespeare will be on a little bit later on this week to give us a little bit more detail, potentially. But bet all the favourites, maybe taking that early line now. All the wild card bets are up. All the prices are up on the Bet Rivers site. So Shakespeare says, bet all of the favourites against the spread in the first round of the NFL playoffs. Incidentally, I think I'm on Wednesday, but there's the TGL Golf League, which is a mad golf. I don't know if you've come across this, Lewis, at all. I'm probably springing it on you, but it's like one of these things that you play indoor. Rory's playing. All sorts of big names are playing. And I'm just thinking, how on earth can you price that up? I'll be backing against every single favourite. You know, it's just one of those, it's indoor golf. You know, one of these simulators where you just whack it on a big screen that's like 60 foot tall. I'm backing against every single favourite. I'm on Wednesday. I
would not fancy pricing that up if I was a bookmaker.
Yeah, it's impossible,
It's a really difficult one, that, isn't it? You need to get the form lines to see what see if players are good at the old virtual golf. I mean,
it's just insane. Yeah. It's absolutely insane.
Must be an angle there. Must be.
Shakespeare says exactly, Dan. Don't wait. Diazadeh says Elanga plus 195 anytime goal scorer. Bet Rivers found it. Found it plus 300 elsewhere. We're not allowed to say that. Kushal says when Shakespeare bets, you tail. This is true, right, Lewis? Before we wrap things up, what's your best play tonight? I guess you're going in the Wolves Forest game.
Yes, I'm. If we could get a bigger price on the if the price was still draw no bet, which I got earlier a few days ago, I would have advised that, because I do think Forest have got a very good chance tonight. But the market's moved in their favour, and they're the right price now. So I just think if Dawson plays that third centre back on the left against Elanga, who is absolutely flying, plus 200 to score or assist, is the way I'll be playing that for sure, and that's my best bet.
Brilliant stuff. Lewis, enjoyed your company over the last 45 minutes or so. When are you back on? Next Monday? Are you back next Monday?
Oh, I haven't got my rotor with me, but yes, back soon.
Lewis will be back soon. I'm back on Wednesday for you. Hopefully, Steve's internet connection will be working tomorrow. I might be press gang into action again. Let's hope Steve will be back with us. Many thanks to everyone who's commented over the course of the last 45 minutes. That is your lot for today. Good luck tonight. Whatever you're betting, we'll speak again tomorrow.